All right, welcome everyone. Hobie-Wan Kenobi here. Today's video is going to cover my BFS line choices in the streams and also in lakes as well. So if you're interested in that, keep watching. Also comment down below what your favorite type of line is for BFS gear. All right, so starting off with my most used line, I would say for stream fishing is going to be monofilament line. And there's a few different reasons for that. The biggest thing is the stretch that it has. A lot of times people would think that stretch is not a good attribute for a fishing line, but I do really like this stretch. A lot of rivers that I fish are really fast. So if I'm coming through with a trout style minnow, like a few of those Jackson ones that I've been using, when it comes through the current and that fish grabs it, it has to kind of suck the lure in a little bit and also be able to cushion when the hooks get into its mouth. So that monofilament line is going to stretch a little bit and give that fish a little bit better chance to get a more positive bite on the lure. And then when it starts thrashing around, also gets, up current, down current, maybe rubbing against rocks. The monofilament is going to be able to cushion that fight a little bit more, especially if you're using a carbon rod. It will give your system more give, that you'll be able to land more fish. I do use braided line for glass rods most times, just because how fiberglass rods, when you twitch them, they're a little bit sloppier. It's kind of a bad term to use, but it's not as responsive. And also the material itself isn't as sensitive, just how it's made up. So braided line is going to give you some more sensitivity. You can really feel those the vibrations of your lure, and also you can feel if you're hitting gravel, if you're hitting rocks or sand. And then also that the cushion in that fiberglass rod is going to be usually most times enough give to be able to cushion the fighting of the fish. And if you want to cushion it more, you'd use I got a leader here. I always use a leader with my braided line. It would be this is monofilament. This is a 4-pound line, and I'll use that just because it will give me some invisibility in the water. Because I mean, this is right here. This is double cross. I mean, that's a super bright orange line, which is nice to be able to watch your line. But if you're fishing in pressured waters, that could deter some fish. So using a 2 to 4 foot leader will actually it'll help you more than just the fish seeing. It'll give you a little bit more cushion too. So that's basically, I don't really use fluorocarbon for my BFS stream fishing. I used to use that a lot, and I just because of the stretch and also the variety of lines that Verivis has, bush trail, side edition, all that kind of stuff, it really made monofilament a better option for me, and also it's less expensive, and you're not really getting the qualities of fluorocarbon for most of your stream fishing. Now for like BFS panfish, fluorocarbon is my #1 option, just because of that slackline sensitivity. A lot of times I'm fishing in wind. I don't like to fish right up next to the shore for panfish. Most times I fish a little bit deeper, so I'm going to be fighting wind, and my line's not always going to be tight. So that slack, just because fluorocarbon, how it's built up, it's a more dense material, it's going to transmit those vibrations better on slack line. Now braided line's really sensitive, and I do use it for panfish too, but your line has to be a little bit more tight. So if you're fishing in really windy conditions, you have to watch your line more for like little jumps, or you always have to kind of reel in your line more to keep your line tight, and it really affects the action of your lure, especially if you're trying to drop straight on the edge of weed lines like I like to do. Fluorocarbon is a little bit better option for that for me. Monofilament, I don't really use monofilament too much, unless if I take one of my trout setups out and I'm throwing like crankbaits for bluegill. That's really the only time I'm going to use monofilament, which it does work well. It's still sensitive, just not as good as fluorocarbon. And actually I like using either the bush trail or the side edition monofilament line for panfish, because you can really see, especially if you're by like either docks or by wood piles for crappie, if you like to watch your line, those are actually really good options for that. And now for bass, most of my bass fishing is not going to be with monofilament line. Other than topwater, which I will use fluorocarbon in a pinch, which I know you're not supposed to use fluorocarbon because it sinks, but I don't throw topwater lures that much anymore unless it's a frog, which of course I'm going to go with braided line. But for most of my BFS fishing, the braided line is going to be the most versatile. This bait finesse braid here, it's a 4-strand braid, and this is about 10 pounds. It's a 0.6 Go, which I'll put a link down below to a Tactitor article that explains that system. But this line, I use it for trout, I use it for panfish, I also use it for bass. So it's very versatile, and it lasts a very long time. I can keep this on my spool for a few years, and just change out my leader that I use on there. If my leader gets short, just retie a new leader. So for overall longevity, braid is a really good option. For my bass fishing for fluorocarbon, there are different I guess, spans of fluorocarbon. Every brand's going to have different tiers and also different attributes. Like this Absolute MG by Verivis, this is more of their budget level, like good fluorocarbon, and it's an all-around, so it's going to have a little bit more stretch than some of the harder fluorocarbons, which is, it's also going to be a little bit softer to give you more manageability, but you're still going to be able to fish jigs or, you know, weightless worms, whatever. Crankbaits, that's another good option too. And that's what I've been using on the Dobyns 700 with this SLX. It's been very nice. I've been liking to use it on there. Then I also been trying this Dead or Alive line. It's a really hard, it's a stronger fluorocarbon, so it's not going to be as BFS friendly. It's still going to be casting okay. You just have to make sure that you use a little bit more brakes and thumb, especially if you're new to BFS. But that's what I'm going to be using on. This is the new Dobyns 701C. So this is one power up from the 700. I'm going to be doing a video comparing the two and also comparing the fishing lines. Basically, it's the same rods, same reels. This is the Corrado, that's the SLX BFS. And I'm going to see how much difference this line makes for sensitivity, stretch, all that stuff. Which it's not, you know, if you're always going to squeeze the most out of an attributed line, there's always going to be some compromises that you're using. So with a line like that, like I said, it's going to be a little bit less manageable on a bait casting reel, especially on a BFS reel, but you will get used to it. And also it's going to be a little bit harder of a line. It's going to be more abrasion resistant, more sensitive, but not as much stretch. All right, so hopefully this video is helpful to you. I know, truthfully, a lot of people have been asking, I'm not just saying that like some influencer, hey, I've been getting a lot of questions about this that I use. But these lines, like these three up in front, the Bait Finesse Braid, the Absolute MG, and the Bush Trail monofilament line, those would be my picks in each category. There are a wide variety of specific lines that Verivis has, and it can be fairly confusing. So if you're a little bit confused going back and forth between lines, you can comment down below on here, or you can message me on Instagram as well. But I try to explain as much as I can in this video about different line types and the pros and cons, just so I can be able to help you out.